This is the regular council meeting for Minnetrista, June 20th. And first order of business is I'd like to ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And just as a reminder, if you have any electronic devices, don't forget to put them on airplane mode. So I'll start with introductions. I'm Lisa Whalen. I am the mayor, and to my left I have council members Patricia Thoele, Pam Mortenson, and Bob Christians. And on the end we have our city attorney with WSB, Paul Hornby. And then on the very end we have our city clerk, Kris Linquist, and our HR and communications coordinator, Cassandra Tabor. And then to my right is our city administrator, Mike Barone, finance director, Brian Grimm, community development director, David Abel, our city attorney with Kennedy and Graven, Ron Batty, and then last but not least, we have our chief of police, Paul Falls. And also to all of you that are here this evening, welcome, and also welcome to those of you watching on YouTube later on. With that, do we have any changes or additions to the agenda? Nothing? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded by Pam Mortenson to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. So we have two special presentations this evening, and we're going to start with Mr. Pinegar from the Rotary. Welcome, and thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for allowing me to chat with you this evening, and I really view it that way because the reason I'm here is last fall, as our Rotary Club was preparing for its third annual Tonka Brewfest, I asked Mike Barone whether or not it might be appropriate to have a conversation with the city about whether or not there was a project that we might partner with the city to perform here. Because one of the things the Rotary does with every dollar we raise at the Tonka Brewfest is figure out how to give it back to the community. And so I'm going to ask you at the end of this brief discussion to share with me any ideas you might have after you've heard some samples of what we do and after you hear a little bit about what the Brewfest has done and how we do those things. I'll also entertain any questions you might have about the Brewfest or about Rotary or any of those things, because I've been in Rotary for more than 20 years, and I'm the founder of the Brewfest, so I know as much about those two subjects as anybody in our community. Really, I want to thank Minnetrista for being a great partner in this. It's not every day that you start a project and you talk to some folks and they step up and they say, we're willing to help you. Or they say, we can see how this might benefit our city. But I will tell you, since 2012, when we started planning it, that's the relationship we've had. And I was really surprised that I hadn't had a conversation with you folks before, because the city administration that we've worked with during that time has been so helpful that it was one of those, why didn't I come and talk with the folks here? So I apologize somewhat for not having shared with you prior to tonight. So first, just a brief discussion on what Rotary is. You all may know this, but it's not very long and it's really simple. Rotary is one of the oldest business networking organizations in the country. It's been around more than 100 years, and it's in over 100 countries around the world today. So it started out as business networking, and it evolved into a service organization where the professionals that are involved in Rotary quite simply look for ways to give back to their community. And that involves lots and lots of different ways, from international projects, including the eradication of polio, to local projects such as scholarships for kids. So it's a wide range, but it is all involved with giving back to the community. And with that, every single dollar that we raise in our fundraising is given away. So when you talk about nonprofits that raise money and and their administrative costs. All administrative costs in Rotary are paid for by the members. Every fundraising dollar is spent on projects and given away. So here is a few sample of the projects our local Rotary Club's been involved with. We give away somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a year in scholarships. The total exceeds $100,000 that we've given away to scholarship programs. We're involved in the school through an Interact program where we work actually with kids in the high school doing service projects. We've given money to a shelter box project that does, very unique, builds boxes that contain tents and supplies that are designed to support 10 people for 10 days in a disaster, and Rotary airlifts those in when there's an earthquake or a tsunami or whatever. We've done food packing for the local weekend. We bought or participated in buying a $30,000 truck for weekend, that food truck that makes local deliveries. We did about a third of that project. We've been involved in another van for an orphanage in Romania. We've been involved in Eagle projects. We've been out here to help you folks with Trista Days. And we also did the harbor project in the city of Mound. We raised about $15,000 for part of that money came out of our Brewfest to redo the harbor in the city of Mound, including the musical instruments there, the sculptures that are there. And when I say that we do these projects, and here's what I'm offering you, we come to actually help. If we agree on a project, you're not going to work for us. We'll lead the project if you want us to. So we're free labor in many respects, in addition to bringing our funds. We've refurbished a baseball field. So we do all kinds of things that involve our labor. Now, we're not very, we're down to earth day laborers, but we're good. And the last one, part of the first funds that we did paid for the irrigation system that irrigates the community garden that Gale Woods Farm did. So lots of different things. When it comes to the Brewfest, we started working on the Brewfest about 2011. 2012, we found Gale Woods Farm, and I knew we'd found the right venue for this event. And I hope you folks are as proud of it as we are, because we know that the people that attend that event, and this includes all of our partners, and that includes all the brewers that come there, and all the folks that donate and provide sponsorship money or provide the ice, or any of these folks, enjoy the event and look forward to coming back. I have no problem at all getting the brewers to come back. They actually value our event and believe it's one of the best ones they do of its kind in the state. Lastly, before I get into the open question, well, I got a little bit more on Brewfest, but when we did that, we looked for truly ways of partnering. And one example of that, when we were figuring out what time of day to hold that event, that wasn't random, 3 to 6. We did it 3 to 6 for 2 very specific reasons. One of them was so that we were not competing with the local restaurants. So we intentionally got it over so that people that came to our town would have an opportunity to go out for dinner after they were at this event. So every part of that was planned consciously, and it was planned consciously with the brewers in mind. We collaborated with a couple of brewers who had experience in events and said, help us so that we don't screw it up the first time. Sometimes you do things and then you learn the mistakes you made and you do it better the next time. We tried not to do that. Now, it isn't that we don't learn every year, because we do, but it was a true collaboration. Another little piece of that, I already mentioned that we've raised $40,000 in the first 3 years of operation. Our goal is to actually raise $25,000 a year, and that would mean that every dollar that's paid for a ticket would be spent in our projects. It'd all be given away. And we'll do that through finding additional sponsors. We have about $5,000 worth of sponsors right now, and we want to increase that to about $15,000 because that's about the total expenses it costs for us to operate that, whether it's the Gale Woods farm expense or the glasses, all those different things. Attendance, we've been thrilled. We were sold out the first year, and we've been sold out every year. We had 600 the first year, 700 was our attendance last year, and that doesn't include the brewers and their employees. That's paid ticket sales, basically. I don't know if you have any other questions on the event itself or anything I could help you with. Here's where we are in our planning for this year, though. I sent out my first email to the brewers. I'm the one that recruits the brewers. We always give first priority to those that were there last year, those that have supported us, and which, you know, that's also interesting because several of the brewers that are there today weren't even there. You know, and they're in our community, like Enki Brewing or Waconia Brewing. Those weren't even brewers on the map when we started planning this. So that's a growing area. So with that,
What is the date this year?
it's always the first Saturday of November. In fact, we got a call from Gale Woods when they opened up their calendar for this year. They called us to say, do you want on the calendar? Because they booked so far ahead, and they didn't even used to book that weekend, and now they've opened up their booking through November. And then they called back and said, by the way, do you want 2017? Because we're already taking reservations for 2017. So we actually are already reserved there for the next 2 years.
Sure.
So
Great.
we love the event. We love the support we get from this community and from your city organization. And that includes the chief of police, because we also knew that with an event like this, you had to be very careful how you did it, and you had to make sure that you did everything by the book. And we know that we've done that. We've worked with the chief since the beginning, as well as the city manager. So we tried to do our part to be a good partner from our side. So if questions or ideas, and as you think about those, lastly, Mike has my Rotary card, has my email address on it, and my phone numbers. So if you don't come up with them tonight, I'm serious. We'll look for that opportunity to partner with you in doing some project or multiple projects that would give back to your city and the citizens here.
That'd be fantastic. And I can just say I've tried to go to your beer fest a few years and it's been sold out. So I'll have to try and get a reservation in earlier.
We do most of our sale, we do probably 75% online. Now, the first year, it was all direct.
Yeah.
And actually, we are already getting emails from people wanting to know when the tickets go on sale.
So when do they go on sale?
They will go on sale somewhere the first 2 weeks of September.
Okay.
And the website is on that card.
On your card, okay.
And they are sold through the website. Your front desk here does offer tickets there also, but they do go fast. And so I encourage people to, if they really want to go, don't think about it too long. So.
Well, we probably have to put our thinking caps on, but we can probably come up with some wonderful
I hope so.
project.
Seriously. I mean,
That would be fabulous.
It's fun to do these.
Yeah.
We have volunteers, and I said, for example, with that project in Maui, we paid for the landscape architect to
Right.
design the things, so you don't have to wonder how much it's going to cost you or how much time anybody's going to have to spend. We are a competent partner, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
And if that park ever becomes something else and you need to move those pieces, we'll be happy to have them. So.
Well, if there's a place here where that's an appropriate activity, we don't have to wait. We can talk about that too.
So that's great. And like I said, I think we'll put our thinking caps on because we always like those kind of opportunities.
And if you want us to come back and chat with you about it, me or other Rotarians would be glad to meet with you, brainstorm it, think about what might work.
Are there any other questions? Because I'd have another comment before you leave, so don't go away.
I was just going to ask you, have you dealt with the 4-H group at all?
No, we haven't.
Because that, to me, would be something very Minnetrista, they're very into livestock, you know, all of that. And I know their county fairs are starting to go on right now, so that is a great organization.
Okay.
And you didn't mention Girl Scouts. Are you doing anything with Girl Scouts?
Not specifically. Our mission has been a little, it's rare that we work directly with some of those. It's not that we can't, it's just rare. What we try to do is find those places that other people aren't involved with.
Okay.
But that doesn't, you know, if they have something that we could help them with, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't. So,
Okay.
So here's something that you could do.
okay,
So on Thursday, we have a bus tour of Minnetrista.
okay,
So of course you and your board or your participants are more than happy to join us.
all right,
Just let us know who's coming, so call City Hall. And it would give you an opportunity to see our entire city.
mhm,
Also, anybody here this evening and watching, please feel free to join us. It's a city bus tour Thursday evening, the 23rd.
okay,
And we meet here at 5. We'll start boarding and departing at 5:30. And we're going to be showcasing our rural area along with some of our newer developments, along with parks, Galewood, and other parks and
Yeah.
trails, and city parks and amenities, along with a really fun, interesting historical perspective.
could be a
So-
very good opportunity to brainstorm.
And that's what I was thinking.
No
So
problem.
anyway, if you're available or other people in your organization,
I'll be chatting at noon tomorrow with my Rotary Club.
and spread the word.
I
So
will do
we
that.
have a few more seats, so
Okay,
feel free to join us.
I
Great,
believe
thank you.
that information is on our website, correct? Or you can just call City Hall and get the information.
And I'll drop you, the information too.
Thank you.
anything else?
No, but thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bill.
So we have another special presentation, and that's regarding the Halstead Drive update. And staff will be doing a presentation.
Sure. it's
Okay.
looking at me.
And then,
Look at you.
and then afterwards, so we did, and I'll just preface it by saying we did have a discussion at our work session, and so we're going to kind of reiterate some of those discussion items. And then, if anybody is here this evening and would like to just have a few moments, then you can do that. I'll open it up for the public. We do have you signed up under persons to be heard, but if you'd like to speak after this presentation, you'd be welcome to. So, Mr. Hornby.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. At the work session, we did have a discussion. The council had asked us to take a look at 4 alternatives. We actually included a 5th alternative, and I'll explain what each of those were for the Halstead Drive project. The first alternative was if we just looked at reconstructing the existing gravel section of the roadway. So that was from Highland Road east to where the pavement ends today, which is just west of Lakeside Drive. Alternate 2 was to reconstruct Farm Hill Drive and Farm Hill Circle. The pavement in that area and those 2 roadways is in poor condition. And so we looked at that alternative. As another alternative to that, we looked at just reclaiming the pavement on Farm Hill Drive and Farm Hill Circle. The cost of that is less than half of it than what it is to reconstruct it. We also looked at alternative 4 was to reconstruct Williams Lane, and that would be east of Halstead Drive. That would include an extension of water main to the residents there. We had a couple that were interested in city water. And then alternate 5 we looked at was to reconstruct the existing paved segment of Halstead Drive. We looked at that only from a cost comparison standpoint to see what, if you were to break the project up into different segments, what might be the expected costs difference if you did that in a later year. So we just looked at that in 2016 dollars. So for the Halstead Drive, alternate 1, that was just reconstructing the gravel portion, was about $3.2 million. Alternate 2 to reconstruct Farm Hill Drive and Farm Hill Circle was about $1.2 million.
With water.
With the extension of water main and water services,
Mhm.
correct. Alternate 3 was to reclaim Farm Hill Drive and Farm Hill Circle. With that alternate, the reconstruction and the water main extension would not occur. That was about $400,000. Alternate 4 for the reconstruction of Williams Lane and east of Halstead Drive was about $400,000. That did include an extension of water main. And then alternate 5, the reconstruction of the paved segment of Halstead Drive is about $1.8 million. And that included extending services to the homes that front Halstead Drive and stubbing out water main to those that are the cul-de-sacs that intersect that part of the roadway. Through the discussion of the council at the work session, seemed the consensus of the council was to take a look at alternate 1 and alternate 3 as the project to continue on with the feasibility report.
Which would be paving the gravel portion and looking at reclaiming Farm Hill Drive and Circle.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else, staff, or?
No, I mean, I guess the only other comment to add is obviously, though, through the direction of the council, those 2 alternatives would be brought back to the only meeting in July, I guess the July 18th meeting, through a feasibility report, which is pretty much one of the first steps in the process, or, you know, as far as a timeline. I guess we can even, I don't know if it makes sense to put up a preliminary timeline again, just to remind everyone, you know, it does take time to get to a point in a project. You can see there, you know, originally we had done a presentation to council last couple Mondays ago, June 6th, and that's where we came back with the alternatives tonight. So instead of everything sort of shifted down a little bit, you know, presenting a feasibility report to city council actually now would be at that July 18th meeting based on, and instead of doing the whole project, it would be based on just the gravel portion of Halstead as well as Farm Hill. And then from there, I guess depending on what the council, when the feasibility reports, you know, presented, there's, you know, either the public hearing would probably come sometime in August, September, I would assume, or other public informational meetings. I mean, there's a few different options that you can see, obviously, between now and when you'd actually go out and approve plans and bids on something, you know, early next year. But there's a lot of discussions and details and steps between now and then. So I guess
Right.
I just wanted to at least piggyback on or follow up on Mr. Hornby's comments that this is any of these 3 projects we've done in the past and in the future, as well as potentially this one. It's multiple bullet point steps you can see there. It takes a long time to get through the process to try to get everything right with the design, financing, logistics, etc. So.
Right. And we talked a little bit in our work session too about the process and the phases that it goes through, the planning stages of getting the CIP together, the capital improvement plan together, getting the road improvement plan together, and then moving on to the next phase, which would then be I call it schematic design phase, or
So preliminary design.
preliminary, right.
And then we'd go through some public hearings or a public hearing. By statute, the city's required to do that under Chapter 429 for assessing that project. There's another process we can go through as well that may not be required, but the city would hold a public hearing. And then make a decision after the public hearing whether or not the city would want to order the project. And ordering the project would mean authorizing preparation of plans and specs, which is final design.
Right.
And so then at that point, once final design is done, project cost estimates are presented, final design, the council still has the opportunity not to bid the project or to bid it and decide whether or not you want to award or not. So there's a number of steps here that we can go through along the way to allow council to make decisions in whether you want public input or not along the way. The only
Yeah.
things you're required to do is to
For the public hearing for the
Just for the public
429
hearing.
bonding. But we talked about that too, saying that we thought it would be appropriate that maybe when you're 30 or 40% into the design aspect to have I don't know if it would be a public hearing, open house probably, or informational meeting where the residents can come in and take a look at it and give us some feedback too.
Okay.
So another opportunity.
And oftentimes, which was the intent of the previous meeting, is to have layouts available for residents individually to come up and talk to us, whether it's about their individual property or an issue they're aware of that maybe they don't like about the roadway, or there's something that, a problem that they know about, they can bring it to our attention. You know,
Right.
we don't live on the roadway. It always helps us out from a design standpoint to have residents point some things out maybe that we're not aware of.
Okay, good. Any questions of council? Mr. Barone, does staff need a formal motion? And I will be offering an opportunity for residents to speak in just a second, but so is there a formal motion that you need, or you have good enough direction from the work session?
I think we have direction, but if you want to make a motion to basically summarize the pieces that we're going to, that you want information back on for further discussion, I think that might be in order, Mayor.
Okay. So
It's a motion
a
to the
motion
effect of
that we're
doing
going
the
to go.
feasibility on alternates 1 and
one
alternate
and-
3, or
1 and
basically as
3.
defined,
Okay.
the gravel section of, and Farm
That would
Hill
be
Circle
Okay.
reclamation,
Okay.
Farm Hill Drive.
So we're looking for a motion to approve moving forward with a feasibility study for the option 3 and 1 and 3, which would be paving the gravel, paving the gravel and doing reclamation for Farm Hill, and not doing anything else.
Correct.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. Now I'm going to open it up. I know there's some residents here. You may have some questions that we haven't been able to answer, or you may have some comments. So come to one at a time. Come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, I'm Mayor Whalen, resident or members of the council. My name is Aku Hussein, and I live at 3585 Lakeside Drive. And thank you very much to give me the opportunity to speak this evening. And just a few things. I mean, I was at the city meeting as well as the last project meeting, and so I've got to hear a little bit about the thought process and what's been going on into the project, and so really appreciate the transparency and then the ability to have just be heard and have my opinion known. So just a couple things. One, I'm not so sure that the concerns that have been raised by the folks that live on the currently tarred portion of Lakeside or Halstead are necessarily being characterized correctly, because I don't think that those residents are against finishing the tar. I think it's more that they don't feel they should have to be assessed to pave the gravel portion of Halstead.
Right.
So again, I just want to make sure that
No, I understand. Yeah. Sure.
characterization is
Okay.
correct. And I
And
guess-
maybe if
Go
we
ahead.
split it, maybe that will solve that problem too.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
Yep, very well could. The second, I guess, comment that I would make is, as a resident that's on one of the cul-de-sac roads, we know we purchased a house, already Halstead was paved up to Lakeside. Lakeside is also paved. And so there's some concern about the cul-de-sac folks, and I'm not speaking for myself only. It's hard for us to quite understand how we are benefiting property of a portion of Halstead that's beyond, where we would normally drive. And so the portion portion of the road that we take to get to our homes is already paved, has been paved for some time. We don't necessarily see the paving of the gravel as an improvement to our home value, at least one that where we should be included in the assessment. And so the next question, I guess, would be around those alternatives. Do some of the alternatives presented tonight, do they alter who is considered a benefiting property?
We haven't really discussed that portion of it. And so that discussion would occur once we get the feasibility study and we get a little more fine-tuned in terms of the costs and in the cost analysis. I'm not sure if that'll happen next month or at some point before the project is ordered. That would be more of the discussion. But one of the reasons that it's split is so we can deal with that section that's paved and the cul-de-sacs a little differently than maybe the gravel portion. So I'm not going to say we're not going to assess you, but we'll discuss that.
Fair enough. And then I guess the last point is there's been a lot of comparisons to the Halstead reconstruction project and projects done on Highland Road and Game Farm Road. And I guess the only point that I'd like to make there is a public resource off of Halstead, which is the boat launch. And so there are quite a few people that use the boat launch, both Minnetrista residents as well as outside of Minnetrista. And so there's been some conversation about we only normally put so much into bond for the community to pay because the rest is paid for by the residents. I guess I would just ask that because there is a community resource or a commonly used resource off of Halstead Drive, that there might be a consideration to put more into bond than was done on Highland and Game Farm, just because I do think that the community would benefit more from improvements to Halstead than just simply the residents.
Yeah, and those are all good points, and those will be discussed in detail. So don't go away. Come back.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
I have the sheet. Are you together? You are. Okay, all right. Thank you, first of all. It's the
And
first time
don't
you've
forget
been
to
here.
state your name and
I'm
address.
Jennifer Tanner in 4340 Trillium Lane West. We're in the Trillium Bay
Oh,
area.
okay.
These are my children live from Grace. I homeschool them, so one of the
Okay.
reasons I brought them here is we're doing city, state, county, and I thought it was a good experience for them to see something like this. In addition to that, I believe, Mayor Whalen, you were part of this, but we had a concern that since I do homeschool them, I don't know if you are familiar with the Trillium Bay area, but
Yeah.
you come in and it's Trillium White, and then
Right.
it splits like a fork, east and west.
Yes.
And we moved in about 4 years ago, and we fought really hard to get this no outlet sign.
Oh, we're going to address that.
And I just want to address my concern about that.
Sure.
That I'm feeling like we tried so hard for like 4 years to get our sign put up.
I
And
can-
know I'm hearing that it's going to be put back up,
Yeah.
but I'm feeling a little bit
What-
alarmed by why it got taken down. And there's a lot of hearsay as to why it got taken down, and I'm wanting to hear why it actually got taken down, because it seems
Yeah.
like residents are having a lot of power over what they should have in our.
We
like I have
had-
a fire hydrant, and I can't say, will you move it, because I don't like where it is.
I understand your point. There's two differing opinions on the sign, and so we said we'll take it down and we'll allow the homeowners association to determine where they would like it placed. I guess there was a resident that you wanted it there. Another resident didn't want it there. It seemed like it was more of a neighborhood.
I didn't want
issue.
it there. I didn't care where we put it.
Okay.
I had no involvement with where it was. It's just we talked about it for a long time
Okay.
because with the new development going in, I have nothing to do with this except
So
for
it
say
will
we
be
have children
Going back.
and we have
Yeah.
new developments going in, and there can be a lot of traffic going
Right.
in there unnecessarily that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, and we're aware of that, and so it will be going back in.
So
So-
my concern is that when is it going back in? Because it got stripped from us, and I know it's a safety that we shouldn't rely on. Just because the sign's there doesn't mean that you can, let your
I'll-
kids wander all over. But
Yeah.
when is that sign gonna be put back up? Because it's gone because of one resident, and that's.
I think staff will have to get back to you on that. I
Okay.
don't know that we have an exact date.
When do you think that they can get back to us?
Did you leave your phone number?
I left it
with
with
it?
Gary.
Okay.
I did call Gary.
Okay, I can, staff will follow up on that then.
Okay, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Next, that concludes our special presentations and persons to be heard. So we will now move on to our consent agenda items. We have a lengthy list here, actually A through K. First, it's approve our work session meeting minutes from June 6th, approve our regular meeting minutes from June 6th, and approve our claims, approve appointment of our election judges for the 2016 primary and general elections, a resolution regarding certain lot combining and open space agreement for South Bay property, and also approve the 2016 GIS AMS Statement of Work with WSB. And G is to accept sponsorship money from Trista Day. And H is accept plans and specifications and authorize ad for the bid for Lyle Park parking lot. And I is approve step increase for Randy Storms in Public Works. And J is approve 4-year contract with Hennepin County to continue providing assessor services. And K is declaring the official intent to reimburse certain expenditures from the Well 6 and 7 project. Is there anyone you need to remove or? Okay. Otherwise, approving consent agenda items A through K. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded by Mr. Christians to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Thank you. That was 4-0. Next, we have our public hearing. This is it was carried over from our last meeting to this one. Mr. Abel?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. As stated, we did continue this public hearing at our last meeting. City attorney had found some issues with a slope preservation easement, and as that related to the plat that we needed to clean up, and that was the reason for continuing that hearing to this meeting. This vacation for the drainage and utility easement is directly related to business item 6A, which involves the Class 3 preliminary and final plat to subdivide the property located at 3265 Eagle Bluff Road into 2 lots. As the council may recall, this lot has been subdivided and combined several times throughout the past 10-15 years. The most recently it was combined. Now the property owner is looking to sell their house and also looking to subdivide the lot next door so that there is a vacant lot that they can sell as well. We did go through a concept sketch plan review of this proposal. Council did recommend approval to go ahead and move forward with the Class 3 preliminary and final plat to subdivide the lots. So this is the first item required in order to move forward with this subdivision. Looking for the council to hold a public hearing, and staff is recommending approval of the vacation of certain drainage and utility easements at 3265 Eagle Bluff Road.
Okay. Questions? Just one question. I would hate to vacate this and then the property doesn't split. So I want to make sure that if the property doesn't split, that we maintain the easement?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, there's a number of conditions of approval in order for us to execute either one of these resolutions.
Okay.
So we'll be holding those because of the number of items that needs. There's a survey that will need to be produced, updated, showing removal of patios, structures, and things in order to make the lot comply with the standards as required.
Okay, so the execution won't occur until the final plat, everything in the final plat has occurred.
Correct,
Okay.
until we're satisfied
All right.
that items have been taken care of.
Okay, thank you. It is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak for or against? Mr. Alcon, you will have to state your address for the record, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Chuck Alcon, 6138 76 Lane in Greenfield, Minnesota, representing Joel and Berba Buckley's at 3265. Just one comment on item 5A. The last paragraph of the DNR letter, probably a typo, but didn't get too concerned here. Second sentence, final decision on this road vacation. We're not going to vacate the road, and we're not building a road down to the lake. Okay, so it's a panic. So possibly just a typo, and let's correct that to read the E-type of easement that it is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have no comment.
Okay.
And we have no comment on 6A.
Yeah, we-
12 conditions are
Okay.
accepted.
You're not building a road, okay. Thank you, Mr. Alcon, yes. All right. So there are no others for public comment, so I'm going to now close the public hearing, take it back to council. So we're looking to approve number 108-16 to vacate certain drainage and utility easements at 3265 Eagle Bluff Road with the conditions as stated in our packet. Is that correct?
Well, Madam Mayor, it's both drainage and utility and the slope easement.
Oh, and slope. Okay, that's not in here. That's why. In the resolution.
Should be.
I'm sorry. I'd have to get to the page. Okay, so it's vacating the drainage, utility easements, and the slope easement. And then,
Yes.
okay,
Yes, that was the change between last time and this
okay,
time.
yeah,
Where basically you're going to be replacing them. You're getting rid of the drainage and utility easements. In third edition, they are going to be replaced in the new plat, fourth
Right.
edition. The drainage and utility easements along the lake shore were included in the same instrument by which the slope easement was created. That's why we're vacating that, and then there's a requirement that there will be a replacement slope preservation easement.
yeah,
So
okay.
everything will go back, and going back to your point, staff is fully aware that either everything goes or nothing goes.
Okay. Good.
Mayor, the information in the packet item is all there, vacating drainage, utility, and slope is all there. The only thing that's
Okay.
missing is from the actual agenda item, so, which is fine, because you're passing the resolution that's in the packet.
Thank
And
you.
it is included.
Yeah. Okay,
So moved.
okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve resolution. Is it 108-16? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Further questions, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. So now we go to the next one. Now, this is not a public hearing, but it's a business item, and this is to approve the Class 3 preliminary and final plat to subdivide the lot located at 3265 Bluff Road into 2 lots. We kind of know the history. I mean,
Exactly, Madam Mayor, staff's
For those-
recommended, yeah, staff's recommended approval with conditions as outlined in your staff report.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this as presented with staff's recommendations?
So moved.
Just a quick question.
Okay.
When was it combined? How long ago was it?
Well, it's had gone back and forth 3 or 4 different times. I believe it was the early 2000s, the last time it was combined.
Then it was combined.
Yep. It's 3 or 4 different times it's gone back and
Over
forth.
the-
Yep,
the-
yep.
Okay.
Like I said, I think we've been around this a few times, so. All right. Ms. Mortenson, I'm sorry, you made that motion?
Yes, I did.
Okay, is there a second then?
Second it.
Okay, and Mr. Christian seconded that. Further questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Next, we have approving a hiring of an additional public works employee, or actually 2 works employees. Ms.
I'm gonna
Barone.
just introduce Ms. Tabor to bring this item up, and I'll probably at some point in time chime in, so we'll just let Cassandra start.
So just a couple of corrections too, so I apologize in the wording on this. So we're looking to gain approval for 1 public works additional position. So originally, you had approved a 2016 water treatment plant operator position that was intended to be a full year position. We have yet to hire that just due to the timeline of what's happening, and then making sure that we're getting a job description that meets what our needs are. What we're looking for in addition to that is I had noted approved, but it was going to be a proposed position for 2017 to bring on another public works staff member. That would get us back up to the count that we had in 2011. As you're, I'm sure, very well aware, our workload in the city has jumped significantly since 2011, and right now we have currently 7 public works maintenance employees and our superintendent. So we're down compared to where we were in 2011. Of those 7 employees, public work employees, 1 is on light duty and has been for just over a year and a half. And then we recently had a resignation in April of a public works employee who specialized in sewer. So we have
a skill shortage and a staffing shortage right now that we're wanting to address by requesting additional staffing for this year. So from a financial standpoint, Brian and I met, the cost that we had predicted for a full year water treatment plant operator, that won't be hired until Q4 of this year. And so if we were to bring on a public works employee during Q4 and a water treatment plant operator in Q4, we would still be saving about $10,000 over what we had budgeted for that water treatment plant operator per full
Right.
position.
So budget-wise, we would be fine, actually in the plus still.
We'd actually be
So,
ahead of where
right.
we had originally anticipated we would be.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to some of our discussions we had regarding our gravel roads, and it was pointed out, and I kind of made the statement back then, you know, we can have all the gravel we want, but if we don't have the employees to spread it or to work on the roads, it doesn't do us any good. So this will help get us back to closer to where we should be, and hopefully we can address a lot of these issues, sewer issues, water issues, road issues, sign issues, all of that. We can hopefully address them a little faster and better. So,
Correct, and ideally then, as we posted for this position, we would look for someone with some background in sewer as well. Because of
Right.
that resignation, we currently have one person that specializes in that sewer. And with the staff shortage, it's been hard for them to cross-train. So bringing someone in would just alleviate that issue immediately.
So to clarify, it's not two hires, it's one that's a replacement for the sewer position, or that that position that was vacated?
No, that's a good question. So when that position was vacated, we brought on as a full-time employee Trevor Barrett, who was our extended seasonal. So
Yep.
we did replace that headcount.
Okay.
Now we're actually looking to add an additional headcount that we had anticipated proposing in 2017,
Right.
but are needing now.
Yeah, and we maybe didn't get that area of expertise with Trevor.
Correct.
Correct.
So, okay.
Yes.
We've got a really good employee, but he doesn't have a lot of sewer experience.
Yes.
So,
Right, okay.
So we have two we're looking to bring on this fall.
Correct. One that was previously approved, the water treatment plant
Okay.
operator, and then ideally then this proposed position.
The other one that we're talking about, what kind of a job description would he be? Would he be specializing in anything or just kind of a general
It would still be considered
Maintenance.
a public works maintenance position.
maintenance position?
Exactly. We would just look for someone who has some additional sewer experience and background to bring in.
Okay,
yeah, we're looking to kind of, they wouldn't be paid any differently or on any different step schedule according to the labor agreement with the union. It's just that as we look for that person, we're gonna look for somebody that has a background in doing sewer work. Not everybody does. So we're gonna hope to find that person.
that person would have the flexibility to work on our roads, work on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
different.
yeah, it wouldn't just be
responsibilities.
sewers, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So they would have the complete job description with that.
That was my only question.
Yeah, it'd just be an assignment that they'd be in
Okay.
charge of the sewer stuff. And
Right.
there'd be there's plenty of hours left in the week after you get the sewer stuff done. It's just that you gotta know what you're doing, so.
And just to reiterate, one of the extenuating circumstances as to why we need someone that can be out in the field is that we have someone on light duty, which then
Correct.
they're not able to
That-
get out and do some of the heavy-duty stuff.
Correct,
Would-
and
yeah.
I think as, you know, we went through the recession, we kind of hunkered down, as I mentioned last time. But we're still not even at the staffing level we were in 11, or actually in 2009. We had our previous superintendent and 8 employees, now we have Gary and 7 employees. And one of those 7 is on light duty, so we're down to actually 6.
Mhm.
And so our goal was going to be to propose in 2017 an additional headcount to get back up to that 8.
Mhm.
So it's
So
kind
you
of
would
where we
be,
were 6 years ago.
this would be an advertised position, you'd advertise
Yeah.
for this
Absolutely.
position?
Yes.
Yep, we don't have any
external.
internal candidates.
That was a question.
Mhm.
Hey,
No,
hiring today is not as easy as it used to
we
be.
know
No.
that.
We know that, we
Yes,
know.
which is also
Yeah.
too why we're anticipating Q4, because it is going to be something that will
Yeah.
most likely take us some time to locate not only a person, but the right person.
Yeah.
Yep. And as we did with our police hire, they're still in background, but I think we found one of the 2 people did have some experience. That means you may end up paying that person at a higher starting rate within the schedule of steps in the pay program. That could be the case here again. we may not start somebody at the bottom rung of the ladder, because if they have that expertise in the sewer that we're desiring, it may cost you a little bit more to get that here. So we'll see what happens, but
Well, you're just not having people knocking on the doors wanting to add you.
Right.
I wish it was the case,
Yeah.
but we'll do our best, so. It's a great place to work, so I think we'll get some good applicants, but how many? I don't know.
For the position that you're going to be looking at for fourth quarter, is this a position that might be a promotion for someone from within?
No, I mean, it really is an equitable position always around. It just has to do with where their skill sets lie or what they've been
Right.
trained on. But it may then open us up for future promotion opportunities down the road, lead positions, things like that as we're moving forward.
There's additional licensing that you need to have to be working in the sewer, and not everybody that goes into public works seeks to get those licenses unless they go to work in a utilities plant or utilities department. That's generally a larger department, a larger city. We're kind of the jack of all trades public works guys, so we're looking for good, solid, hardworking people. If they happen to have that, great. Now we're actually going to be looking for somebody that has a certificate, so.
Okay.
Good questions. Anything else? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve Resolution 122-16, which would be hiring additional public works employees?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second it?
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0.
And Mayor and Council, we'll keep you up to date on our progress
Yeah,
towards that
yeah,
as we get
too.
going. I
And
know
I
it's
know
kind of a long gap here between now and the next time we meet, so.
Let Gary know help is on the way. he'll
have to
be
text him.
happy, right?
Should be.
All right. Staff reports.
I don't have a lot, Mayor. Did attend the LMC conference that was hosted by the River Center in St. Paul. It was the annual conference. They actually partnered with the Alliance for Innovation, so it was kind of a joint conference. We had not only the Minnesota people for the league there, but also a lot of national people there. I'll let Councilmember Mortenson talk a little bit more about it because she was there as well. Overall, it was a good conference, so I've already kind of forewarned Cassandra. I'll be sitting down with her and talking about a few ideas I learned from it, and told her I didn't want to be that kind of boss, but I might be. Where I get ideas and say, hey, let's try this. So
That's what conferences are for.
I realize that, but you always hate to be on the receipt. It's like, I already have enough to do. So, but we'll figure it out. So, but there were some really good stuff, and the speakers were really good. Like I said, I'll let Councilmember Mortenson talk about that. That's about it.
Okay, and city attorney we have here
Yes.
on the list.
I am on the list. Just quickly, somewhere, I don't know if this is a heads up or a FYI, just wanted to talk briefly about FEMA and the floodplain ordinance. You know, FEMA operates the National Flood Insurance Program that cities participate in, including Minnetrista. In order to do that, you have to have an ordinance which meets certain standards and adopt their maps. FEMA has been in the process for the last couple of years of updating those maps based on new information and so forth as part of their regular program. And they're going around county by county, sending new maps and asking cities to update their ordinances. It's Hennepin County's turn this year, and so cities in Hennepin County which wish to continue to participate in the program have to amend or prove that their ordinances are adequate by November 4th, or they will no longer be able to participate in that. So staff's aware of that. We've been working on that. There's been some contact with FEMA about that. I think it's likely that a revised ordinance will probably have to be produced, and it's probable that DNR will be involved in some way. So there's really nothing for the council to do at this point, but it's likely between now and November 4th that a new flood insurance or flood plain ordinance with the new floodplain maps will have to be brought back through the Planning Commission and ultimately through the council.
Oh, fun.
It will be lots of fun. Those are long technical ordinances, but very important if we wish to
Yes,
continue
yeah.
to participate in that program, which
And-
we have.
And we have to participate if our residents are eligible for FEMA flood insurance.
Right,
So,
yes,
or if we want to be reimbursed for certain expenses as a city as well.
yes.
So,
and-
We did.
yes,
a
which
couple years
we did, I mean, it's good that we participated because in 2014, when they had the floods, you know, we benefited, so, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and even though today's the first day of summer, November 4th is
Yeah.
not that
It
far
isn't.
away in terms of
Right.
adopting ordinances, as we've all learned. So we're working on it.
Well, good thing we have you on our team, Ron.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you don't need anything from
No,
us? I mean, you're
that was
just.
just information.
Okay. FYI, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Now we'll move on. Any other staff reports that,
Madam Mayor, I do have a quick one that wasn't on the
okay?
agenda. So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, you're probably familiar with the story in the last week's Laker regarding some overdoses in the Orono jurisdiction. And this is a topic that's been coming up over and over again over the past several years. We're fortunate not to have experienced any drug overdoses recently. We've had some in years past. And as a direct result of the heroin overdoses, you're starting to see more and more of around the state. There's kind of been a push to get Narcan, or naloxone is, Narcan is another word for it, a brand type, into the hands of more first responders. And so this is a medication that essentially offsets the effects of opiate overdoses. So in other words, it doesn't work for cocaine or methamphetamine overdoses. It's specifically for opiate-related overdoses. Heroin would be one of those. And there's obviously legal and illegal versions of opiates. A lot of painkillers are opiate-based, and so this would work on that. Paramedics have carried Narcan for years and years. We're very fortunate here in Minnetrista to have paramedics close. I mean, we have them, they're stationed in our city. And so this really, this started outstate, where the response times for those paramedics and first responders was a lot further away, a lot longer. And the idea here is to be able to get this Narcan into someone's system very quickly. It's a pretty short or small window where it's effective. The good news is it's not going to cause any harm if you miss that window, but at least if you have it, you're able to, if it's going to work, it will, type of philosophy. And so with that, we're starting to hear more and more about that. And in the metro area, there are some law enforcement agencies that are carrying it. Hennepin County, I think, is one of them. There are others, I don't know them off the top of my head, but there's a number of them. And there's kind of been an ongoing debate as to whether or not that's a good idea or not. Certainly we want to save everybody we can, but I think the theory is that in the metro, generally speaking, the response time for advanced life support or paramedics is really short, and they already carry this. There are some fire departments that also carry it. So, like I said, we're fortunate. Ridgeview does carry it. Mound Fire Department also carries it, which covers a lot of our area. St. Bonnie Fire does not carry it, so something to be aware of. Some of the challenges associated with Narcan for law enforcement, from our perspective, is that it's an expensive medication to have, and it has a shelf life. So it's not just something that you would purchase one time and it's good for a very long time. It's only good for a couple of years, and then you have to replace it. It's also fairly temperature sensitive, so it isn't something you'd throw in your squad car and leave out back to freeze or to sit out in the sun all day. Fortunately, we have garage space, but the cars do sit out when we're out in the city, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the issues that we've been wrestling with. Also, training. You can't it's not as simple as purchasing this Narcan and having access to it, but there's a lot of training and certifications that go along with that. And so there's expense involved in that. And so that's really been one of the biggest hurdles for law enforcement. Long story short is now we're starting to see grant dollars available to purchase not only the Narcan itself, but also to pay for the training. So I guess I just wanted to update you that we are in the process of looking into those grant dollars and what we can do to hopefully secure some of that money for training and to get the Narcan as well. Hopefully St. Bonnie Fire at some point will do the same. So with that, I guess I'll stand for any questions. Otherwise, that's just an update, and I'll certainly keep you posted as we move forward through that process.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Paul, for doing that. Appreciate that. Any other staff reports that, okay, otherwise we'll move on to council reports. Mr. Christians, do you want to start or just?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I had a brief conversation with Paul about this overview and update that he just did pertaining to the Narcan, I guess it's called, and the drug overdoses that have taken place. And the reason this came up was last Thursday, WCC had a meeting which was held at the Surfside. And our spotlight speakers, we'll call them, we had two of them. One was Eric, who's the, well, not totally manager of Mound. And the other one, which I had a very lengthy conversation with, was with Kris Fisher, the assistant chief of police. And about that, because under Chris's spotlight presentation, what Paul just covered is basically pretty much the same as he covered on his spotlight presentation. So thank you, Paul, for updating us here in the city of Minnetrista, what's taking place. You're both kind of on the same.
We had talked about that exact same thing at our last Public Safety Committee meeting.
That was good. I'm glad
I think we're on board,
so.
yep. And that's
Anyway,
why I said thank you for following up on that.
That was basically the only thing I had, and that was the extent of what happened last Thursday at the WCC.
At the WCC.
So,
okay,
that's
great.
all.
And they meet once a month, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Normally the meeting is held from 11:30 to 1 during the days, and it's always on Thursday. Occasionally, there's what's called an after-hours one, and we have not had an after-hours one since, this is the first after-hours one we had since we were lucky enough and had all the mayors present at Borough of Oaks an update of what's going on in each city, which obviously you attended and did over there. So.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Christians and Ms. Mortenson.
I'll just kind of piggyback on what Mike was starting to talk about. I did attend the conference last week, and it was very good. It was a little bit different format because of the merger of the two. I enjoyed particularly the guest speakers. The first one was Future Thinking Cities, and Cassandra, I have to admit, a lot of it went right over my head, but it was very fascinating. You probably know more what he was talking about, but that was very interesting. And then the second day, it was creative and persuasive culture for innovation. And he was really an entertaining speaker. I bought his book. So when I read it, I'll give you some more information, but I think it's some things that we can apply here with City Council. And then they gave a whole arrangement of different classes, and you could pick and choose which ones you wanted to go to, which was kind of nice. It was a la carte, I guess you could call it. And I attended, most of them were community involvement or engagement, and I already talked to Lisa about one of the ideas, and of course she already has it planned. You know, surprise, surprise. And then there was a couple others that I'll just kind of bring up as time goes on. So it was very beneficial, and it was very good.
Well, and the networking is also very good.
Oh,
you know?
networking, yes. Met a lot of mayors and other city council members, along with, they were from all over.
Yep.
So it was fascinating.
They're all over the state,
they were
right?
Ohio and Denver. It was fascinating to hear.
Okay.
Guess what? They have the same problems we do, you guys. So that was good. Spirit of the Lake, I did talk to We Can, and she was very, very happy that we accepted our donation of the booth for Spirit of the Lake. And
nice.
So that has all been rearranged or arranged, and they're good to go on that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is Spirit of the Lake was having problems getting volunteers. So during one of my meetings, I told them about Trista Day, set up a booth. I mean, I think they came in the week of Trista Day, last minute, and they ended up getting a lot of volunteers from Trista Day. So they were really happy with that. And you know, it's hard to get volunteers, so that was very good. A meeting again tomorrow night, and things are speeding up now because it is right around the corner. I am going on the bus tour. I'm very excited about that.
Should be fun.
Yes. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is the pig races. They got featured on HDTV on the Home and Garden Network. So.
Our pig races?
How did I miss it?
Seriously?
Ours, the event.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to tell you, this is a hot commodity right now.
Okay.
Pigs
And-
They're
Pigs
so
are
cute.
hot. Anyways, I just want to mention that because they're getting very popular. We may want to lock them in for next year if we want to have them like really soon, because his time frame is very limited. So there's very few weekends that he could do this for us because he runs a show up in northern Minnesota.
Right.
So I would encourage us to think about that and, get him to mark us on his calendar if we'd like to have the pig races again next year.
Can we access that online to see what they've done, was featured?
Yes, and it's just, I would imagine it's just HGTV Home and Garden Network.
Do you do me a favor, Christine?
Sure. So
Well,
I
it
don't know if we
seem-
want to bring this back up in the near future. I would be more than happy to kind of coordinate the whole thing as far as the sponsorship goes again.
You did such a fantastic job,
Well,
but
now they know.
That'd be good,
To
okay.
expect it.
Yeah, I'd just like to see
Are we on board for that next year?
I am.
I think so.
I think it was a great hit.
It didn't cost the city anything. I think it was a nice added feature. The kids enjoyed it,
Yeah, that's
so.
good.
No pigs got
yeah.
loose.
No pigs. They were treated really, really well. Okay,
All right, so I will
All
let
right.
them know.
great,
And I think that's it.
all right. And Ms. Thoele?
A week ago today, I participated in the Boat Minnesota course that was held at.
The LMCD? No.
Well, kind of co-sponsored or hosted
Oh,
by the
okay.
LMCD, Save the Lake, and Hennepin County Sheriff.
Yeah.
It was at West Tonka.
Mhm.
High
It's the
school- high
LMCD,
school.
yes. Mhm.
Okay.
They do that, yeah.
Okay.
I believe one of your neighbors is involved in that.
Yes, I'm getting to
Jane.
that. I'm
Okay.
getting to that. Don't steal my thunder. Yeah, it was actually a full-day course. It is focused a little bit more, or the primary attendee is 12 to 13-year-olds, because at age 13, they can drive a boat with, what is it? Well, they can get this, and then they're authorized to drive the boat. And it was all day, 7:45 to 6:30 p.m., and 6 quizzes throughout, a final exam. The whole class, you had to pass 80%, or you had to start at the beginning. So it was very stressful. But
Oh, come on.
but it was an opportunity, unbeknownst to me, to we say network or meet with some of the city leaders, because as Mayor Whalen was saying, Jay Soul of Allen Alma's Fleet was the instructor. I got to visit briefly with Deputy Piper
Mhm.
of the Hennepin
And
County Sheriff,
Water Patrol.
Water Patrol,
Mhm.
and Mound Fire Department. Is
Mhm.
it Pedersen?
Peterson,
Peterson.
Greg Peterson, chief.
Was there, and along with some of his team. And then also, one of the kind of like teacher's aides was Brett Nickham. Yeah,
Who is our
LMCD
LMC representative.
rep for Minnetrista,
Yep.
correct? Right?
Right.
And so, so it was just a great opportunity. It was really neat. There had to be 30 kids
30,
in the class, and there were probably 4 of us adults.
Mhm.
And but I thought, well, it was a really good program. It was done very well, and I thought it would be great if this course could improve the safety of our lakes. One boater at a time. If I thought, what are the chances? Or I'd like to think that these kids who are 12 or 13 who take this course. With all that we learned, maybe when they're in high school or college age and out at Big Island and whatever else, maybe they will be a better, safer boater.
Adults can take it too. It's not just
yes.
limited to children, but
Yeah.
it's more focused on boater safety for children so that they can pass their their certification, but adults can take it too. I did it one year. I mean, I was involved in Save the Lake as we started this out. Jay's a fantastic, Mr. Sewell is a fantastic teacher. He knows this stuff inside out, backwards, forwards. So it is a wonderful opportunity. They do it several times a year too.
Okay.
And it's through the LMCD, Lake Minnetonka Conservation District, and their committee, Save the Lake Committee, does this and puts it on, and it's really a good one, so people can check it out.
I took it because we vote. My husband is the primary voter. Well, the only one. But I wanted to learn more about how to do that. And
now you can tell them how to drive.
I did pass and got my card. But,
all right.
So very, very good program. Would highly recommend it for children and adults. Good.
I don't have a lot. Northwest League met, and we had our annual update after the legislative session from number of Patricia Newman with, Metro Cities, and then Gary with League of Minnesota Cities, and kind of found out what they didn't do at the state legislature this year. So we are on a hiatus now for a couple months, and we'll reconvene in September, and that'll just be an update of city activities. And then in October, we are going to have a guest speaker talking about groundwater issues. So that'll be of maybe interest to some of the participants that aren't as well versed in groundwater issues. So, and then Cassandra and I did a dry run of the tour, and I can assure you that 3 hours or even 3.5 hours it goes by very fast. And it's packed with a lot of fun and informative things, and if anybody comes, that participates, I think it'll be well worth your while. So that is this Thursday. Boarding starts at 5:15. Please call City Hall and register so you get on the list. Then there was no meeting. The Pioneer-Sarah Creek meeting was canceled for this month, and fortunately, we did pass the budget at the last meeting, so we didn't have to meet, so that's cost savings to the commission. And I'll be attending the Minnehaha Creek Watershed Policy Committee meeting tomorrow morning. So that's it kind of in a nutshell. A lot of the committees and stuff are on hiatus for a couple of months throughout the summer, so maybe fewer reports. We'll see.
I got one last item. I was going to talk a little bit about the conference we went to, and one of the main speakers we spoke of, and I'll just take a minute here to talk about this guy. His name was Stephen Shapiro. That's the book that Ms. Mortenson bought. And he has as his tagline, Stephen's standard approach to innovation is to never take a standard approach. So this guy, he's a creative thinker. He's an excellent speaker. He's in National Speakers Hall of Fame. He has clients like 3M, NASA, Johnson & Johnson, GE, Dell, you name it, Honda. So he's got some major clients that he has for speakers. And one of the things he talked about, one of the pieces he talked about, was trying to make sure you ask the right question. And one of the examples he uses, I forget which airline it was, but one of the questions they ask themselves is, how do we make sure that when people get off their plane trips, they are able to get their bags quickly? And so they researched it and figured out ways to speed it up, and they went from like 18 to 20 minutes down to about 8 to 10 minutes. And they found out that people were still ticked off that their bags were still not there when we got to the baggage claim area. And basically what they did is they asked the wrong question. They shouldn't have asked, how do we speed this up? But how do we make sure, the question should have been, how do we make sure the bags are there when the people arrive? So there wasn't really a time element that they were dealing with. So what they did is they figured out a way to delay people getting off of the plane. So in 8 to 10 minutes, when they got there, the bags were there. So they didn't ask the right question. And one of the other things he said is Einstein was asked at one point, if you had to save the world and you had an hour to do it, what would you do? And then Einstein's response, and which he agreed with, was you should spend about 59 minutes figuring out which questions to ask and a minute answering it. So you asked the right question. So it was interesting the way this guy approached it. So, but he had a whole bunch of examples like that. But it was an interesting talk. So
yeah, sometimes, and obviously that's
Gotta
very
ask the right
pertinent
questions.
to the city and running a city, and for a council, ask the right questions, so.
If I could just piggyback onto that, I've got just one sentence. I was at a meeting that was more business oriented, and a quote that somebody said there, and it made what it made me think, or how I applied it to us as council members, is that I would like to see us, or myself anyway, and if if others adopted this as well, that we are serving to improve the community, not serving to maintain the status quo, which is less than average. So that's just a way that I would like us to approach how we serve Minnetrista.
Good, excellent. Good
That's it.
comments. Okay, I don't see anything else on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Thank you for adjourning, Bob. Jay does just a fantastic job on that.
Oh.
And he just knows that